Tyron the Racist One Woodley and Marty the Nebraska Nightmare Usman has been set for UFC 235 for the welterweight title. Now, before I get into my official prediction for this fight and how I think it will go, let's take a look at some highlights of these two great gentlemen.
Racing sport. The second I bring up racing sport, I'm immediately race bait. But I can point out clear facts where
You're saying
no other champion has been treated like
more?
me.
I'm saying he's white, they support him more?
I'm not saying they support him more, but he sure as heck has some fans that, cross the line quite a bit of time, which is not his fault. I'm not saying that's him. Let's get that clear. Let's put the cards on the table. Real is real. If I was a different complexion, I think people and fans would treat me a different way.
Why? Why is that?
That's a great question. I would love to know why.
I don't see that at all.
You don't see that at all?
I don't see it, man.
Okay.
I think
okay,
we're promoting it.
You look at the African American athlete, and not only just the fans, the judges. You might have a judge that can be looking at me and waiting on me to fatigue, waiting on me to tire. I've listened to people broadcast my fights, and I completely steamroll Carlos Condit in the first round, and the broadcaster says, "Let's watch the technique of Carlos Condit and the cardio of Tyron."
I fought this fight sitting at about 30%. Everybody knows what I'm capable of. That was 30% right there, and I still dominated a tough so-called Viking. Dominated him, and that was at 30%.
Listen, young man, you know what? Congratulations. Young man, congratulations. You made it here. You know, you get to be up here with your favorite fighters. You know, maybe after this, we could all sign something for you so you can take home to your family, okay? Congratulations, you made it here. Now, you know what? You should be worried about that man over there. You know who you're fighting? Yeah, Robbie, he's up. You hit me, I'm still coming. And I'm coming all night long, T-Wood.
Just awesome. Two awesome, great, nice, likable, fan favorite fighters, right? Anyway, down to my official prediction. Here's what I think both fighters do pretty well. I think that Woodley is better with power in his hands. Dude has got a pretty mean overhand right, especially works on idiots who like to walk right into it. He does have more power in his hands than Usman, but we'll see if the wrestling is able to negate that. Personally, I always thought his punching power was a bit overrated. In fact, the last person he actually knocked out cold was, I believe, Robbie Lawler, and no one else since then. Don't get me wrong, his punches will knock you to the ground, knock you off balance, but they won't exactly put you out, especially if you're a bigger dude. His takedown defense is also a bit overrated in my opinion. The only time we saw it truly put to the test was against a 40-year-old scrawny BJJ fighter, and that's pretty much what he did the whole 5 rounds. We haven't really seen him fight like a very competent wrestler. The best we've ever seen that happen was with Josh Koscheck, who was on a steady decline at the time, if I'm being honest. He got knocked out in the first round by Robbie Lawler before he fought Tyron, and they didn't even wrestle that much to really make it a contest. In fact, even Rory was able to take him down. Rory McDonald, a striker, who'd have ever thought, was able to take down the guy with the quote-unquote highest takedown ratio. Like, that's just a joke to me. Like, you can't really say takedown defense or most takedowns defended when you don't fight high-level wrestlers. You would think the way he fucking talks about it is that he's been fighting Johnny Hendricks, Georges St-Pierre. No, you haven't. You've been fighting Striker, Wonder Boy, a BJJ fighter, Damian Maia, and another striker who knew nothing about ground game in Darren Till. God, you would think you handpicked your own fights. Jesus Christ. Usman, on the other hand, while not showing he has really any knockout power, does seem to have a very good understanding of wrestling. Not being very technically proficient, but being strong enough to shove smaller opponents down to the ground. He did pretty much bully an undersized RDA that whole fight. It's hard to give someone credit when someone's so undersized. I mean, look at this. Doesn't this look like we need a 165-pound division? I think the gap between 155 and fucking 170 is just a little bit too crazy when I look at this fight. Woodley does seem to have the experience advantage over Usman, I'd say, though. He has trained with Ben Askren, and Ben Askren, might I add, has completely destroyed Marty's mental game going into this fight. The way they both ragged on him, I have to admit, was absolutely hilarious. If you could take someone's soul through roasting, I'd have to say this is it. Like, I mean, look at this. Look at this. One thing I do have to say is Marty is much bigger than Tyron. By comparison, he is both taller and thicker. I could easily see him fighting at 185. The dude is just a big dude. And Tyron looks considerably smaller next to him. Even though Marty might have the size advantage and possibly strength advantage in the grappling and wrestling, I'd have to give it to Tyron, probably in round 3 TKO. I'm just happy to see one of these motherfuckers taken out. They're so boring. So, like, unlikable, it's ridiculous. It's like, who do you hate more? And a little postscript. Interim belts, once again, don't mean fuck all. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.